Welcome to Conspiracy in Real Time, the greatest show on earth. This is take two. I am your medicated and unregulated host, Joshua Stonecutter. I don't want to be a cabal buster, but I just need to say again, when you've been brainwashed, you don't know that you've been brainwashed. I just did this episode, and for the people who are watching on Facebook, there aren't any because I'm shadow banned. But for the people who may sometimes see this on Facebook, I don't know. What just happened on my last take, just go back and watch my last take. I got my iPhone on airplane mode. I got it all cleaned up. I have like around 10 gigs of free space on it. And it just stops taping in the middle of my show. And the funny thing is it always stops taping like right when I'm on like a really good point, like a really good rant. You know what I mean? And like, look, there was a time when I would dismiss these things as coincidences and things like that. But right when I'm talking about how like the pro-life movement potentially being a cover for ass trafficking and just a trafficking operation. Okay, so again, when you're under mind control, you don't know you're under mind control. You have been repetitively told bullcrap over and over again. And now you have me sitting here in front of you. But what I'm telling you is true. I'm not telling you bullcrap. So what I do is I have Facebook Live going and I'm taping on my YouTube show. Let's go over to the records and then we're going to get into the topics. The records. We got a really good track here. This was like a go-to track of mine. I used to play this every time I DJ'd at first. The track's called Kenjin, Kenjin, and the first one is the Cass mix, Kass, and then the second one is the Infusion remix. Infusion is a good group, a good producer. I don't know if it's one person or more than one person, but I featured an Infusion track not that long ago on this show, for those of you that are paying attention. I am still of the opinion, just to be clear, I'm of the opinion that I'm only getting shills and three-letter agencies subscribing to my show. There's somebody who watches every episode as it's premiering, and they jump out a little bit, but then they come back. It doesn't tell me who it is. I don't know who you are, but you should at least leave a comment or something. The same person thumbs up my video, and then either they unthumbs up it, or YouTube is hiding the thumbs up from me. I don't know which. All right, this is another really good track. This is one of the first tracks I ever bought. I actually bought this over the internet. I remember that now. I believe I did. I could be wrong, but I think I did. There's no stickers on it. I think that's where it came from. Anyways, the name of the track is we got two different tracks, I guess. We have two different, I don't know. We have side A is dirty carnival music and side B is belly. And it says Jazz, Jas. I actually know who Jazz is. I saw him play not that long ago. Well, like 5 or 6 years ago, Jazz. I saw him play in Orlando. That's funny because I didn't know that this was the same person. This person, Jazz, Jas, actually knows a friend of mine named Amy who lives in Orlando. I just now realized that. That's funny. I just now realized that while I was doing this. So anyways, yeah, Saw Recordings. I always wish Saw Recordings was like really like take off. You can see the record like falling out there. I thought that they would because the music production was awesome. The tracks were awesome. I love them. These are the topics that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about abortion and the pro-life movement. We're going to talk about, which both are complete bullcrap, by the way. Well, not complete, but they're both being used for nefarious purposes. All right. Then we're going to talk about narcissistic abuse, of course, and systematic targeted abuse. Get situated here. Let's see. There we go. I got two different cameras, so I never know which one to look at. Okay, and then the last topic, we're going to talk about the underground, and we're going to talk about Joe Rogan as well. All right, the abortion and the pro-life movement. Let me tell you why I don't like the abortion movement. The main reason is because they're using these dead bodies for nefarious things. And it's all done under the guise of research and stuff like that. But I'm assuming that whatever they've discovered that they can do with the human body and with the blood, or with like specific parts of a body, it's probably like more potent and better, and with a child or an infant. So this is my point. They're using these body parts for all sorts of messed up stuff. If you don't believe me, just check out Veritas. Veritas did like a really good underground investigative thing into all the abortion places, and like listening to these people talk behind the scenes, like over dinner. You know what I mean? They're talking about this stuff. It's disgusting. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting. And there's like a lot of people who practice quote unquote witchcraft and things like that. And the fact of the matter is we don't know what they're doing with a lot of these bodies. You know. All right, so I was listening to the Supreme Court people talk today. Okay, and I realized as I was listening to them that is total narcissistic abuse. To listen to these people talk, basically, as soon as anybody in the court talking to them starts to bring up a really good, really valid point, and this is so funny because I was bringing up a really good, really valid point when my iPhone just shut off on me. If you don't believe me and you're watching on YouTube, just go to my Facebook, okay, and watch the video yourself. It's all documented on Facebook. This is why I wanted to do live and taping at the same time. People won't believe that this is what happened to me with my iPhone. First off, it's happened to me previously. I just didn't keep the tape and put it up on Facebook. I just re-recorded everything. So this is the second time this has happened in the last like 7 days. This is just another day for me. Do you see what I'm saying? Like this is pretty normal stuff. It sucks, man. So what this person was saying today in court was that after 3 months, the infant in the womb definitely responds to stimulation and has pain responses, right? And this Supreme Court justice, or whoever was talking, I'm not even sure who I was listening to, I think it was Supreme Court justice, response was that response by a fetus doesn't prove that there's pain or consciousness. And she went on to say that, completely dead cadavers and things like that will have pain responses and all this stuff. People who are mentally brain dead will have pain responses. Yeah, because you're hurting them, you know? But if there's no response, nothing goes on when they're in the womb, then why is it that these, like the mind control stuff and the stuff that happened to me, that starts in the womb. They start, and somebody wrote about that, made a comment about that a couple videos ago about, I don't know what it's called, but it's basically like you're torturing and traumatizing while it's still in the womb. That's when it starts, and that's probably when they started traumatizing me. So, anyways, the reason I'm talking about this is because it was being spoken about today in the Supreme Court, and it's like a big topic, Roe versus Wade and stuff like that. But as you're listening, and you can go listen to yourself, what happens is, like I said a second ago, when these people come into the Supreme Court to argue and talk with the judges, as soon as they start bringing up a good point, as soon as they start bringing up a valid point, it's the narcissistic abuse. They just get talked right, they just bulldoze right over them. They speak over them, they talk over them, and they do it in the form of asking another question. They completely just change the subject. And that's what they did when they started talking about the pain response and responses to stimulation after 3 months, So that's the whole, abortion thing. Now, this is my issue with the whole pro-life movement. It looks like it's being used for trafficking, and it looks like it's just slavery hidden in plain sight. And I don't know exactly how it works, but something's very fishy. Like my uncle, Dr. Gibby, who was a doctor at the University of Florida, of course, he started a nonprofit for the pro-life movement back in 1974, 1975. But according to everything I know, according to everything they told me, my uncle Gibby, his last name, I just want to say the last name, my uncle, Dr. Gibby, didn't meet my aunt, didn't meet the family. We had never even heard the name until the late 80s, early 90s. And then it was it was these three people. It was my father, it was Mr. Edward, who was a lawyer, and it was Dr. Gibby, and they were like always hanging out. They were always together. And what they told me was they were doing all these things for the pro-life movement. They would like have like boxes and boxes of bumper stickers. They made us. Do I have a picture of that? I thought I had a picture of that out. I didn't leave it out. They would make us go stand out by the road, with signs and stuff like that, with our church and everything, like protesting kind of thing. So I thought like it was all altruistic, and like everybody just had really, really good motives. You know what I mean? Like everybody's driven by the power of God and Jesus and all this stuff. And of course, I didn't think for one second that anything bad was going on. And then we ended up adopting. Like we adopted my little sister, right? And I have several cousins and stuff that are adopted. But this is the thing. That was started in Gainesville, right? This nonprofit by Dr. Gibby before he even would have known that he was going to the University of Florida. Do you see what I'm saying? This is before, like he would have had to have been like in high school or something. That's why I'm wondering, like, how old are these people? Because some of these things that they're doing, it seems like they're being made for legacies way longer than the normal lifespan, And just the actions of Dr. Gibby are super suspicious. If you dig further, him and somebody else have another, it might even be that nonprofit where the insignia is like a broken off insignia of like one of those insignias that you'll recognize from the FBI's page. And it's not the swirl, it's like a version of the rectangle kind of thing. And you guys already know what I'm talking about if you research this stuff. So it's very obvious. It's very, very obvious. Okay, then my parents were in Israel for like 3 or 4 years. But I'm the crazy one. I'm the one with all the mental issues and stuff. It looks like there could be members of my family that are like legitimate, like, what would you call that? Would you call that like double agent? Like, I don't even know what. I don't know. This is way above my pay grade. You know what I mean? And that's what, my local police department said to me. They're like, oh, this is all way above our pay grade. But this is my point, you guys. The whole like women's choice, right to choose movement and the whole pro-life movement are both like really, really horrible. You know what I'm saying? Like, now that doesn't mean that your decision to keep your child is bad, but if your decision to keep your child is so that you can then exploit them doing S stuff and you can traffic them, because I'm telling you guys right now, I know people that this is what they're doing. I know people who are doing this stuff. So you would think, oh, well, here's this guy saying he knows where people are doing this stuff. Wouldn't you think the police would want to know about it? You would think so, right? You would think so. But no. No, it's the narcissistic abuse. It's what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing isn't real. It's not happening. And this is why this started long. They saw this way before I did. They want me labeled as a paranoid schizophrenic or whatever. I'm depressed. You know what I'm saying? For a while I was depressed. You know what I'm saying? Like, now I'm just back to my normal self, which is just my normal bipolar self. Sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm sad. For a while I was depressed, like around the time I started doing my YouTube show was like one of the lowest points for myself. You know what I mean? Just recently discovering this stuff about my family, my mother lying to me, just about everything, So that's why I don't like either of them, because in Florida, it looks like the pro-life movement is being used. It's very possible it's being used as cover for just like a bunch of S trafficking and like stuff. Because check this out, like if you get pregnant, like I've never heard anything about like, oh, we're having problems with women who are pregnant and they're not registering themselves with the state as being pregnant. Yo, I'm sure that's a huge problem. I bet that's happening all the time. There's probably a reason we've never heard even a peep about that. Not even a peep. And I've never had kids, so I don't know what the process is. Like, I don't think you have to do anything. You don't have to tell anybody anything until the baby's actually born. And then I think at that point you're legally supposed to register it. You know what I mean? But how many people are having kids like out in the woods? How many people are having kids up in the mountains? You know what I'm saying? In North Carolina that we just don't even know about. The sheriffs know all about it. This is the weird thing. The police and the sheriffs, they're the ones overseeing it all, making sure it all runs smoothly. I believe. That's as good as I can figure it. Let's move on. It's a good time to move topics. I hate that topic of just of the children, man. Like that's one of the reasons I'm doing my show. It's because of the kids. You know what I'm saying? It's because what happened to me as a kid is happening to other people right now as I'm speaking. Right now as I'm talking, this is happening to other people. You know what I'm saying? There's some kid whose wrist is bound up around to his dog, and his mom's sitting there going, "Oh yeah, do a good job walking the dog," and then he's getting drug up and down the road right now somewhere. You know what I mean? Like what happened to me. I promise you. So the narcissistic abuse, the systematic targeted abuse, is somebody coming along and listening to what you're saying, knowing you're telling the truth, knowing you're right, but then going on to tell you that you're wrong. And in fact, there might be something wrong with you. Oh yeah, there is something wrong with you. You know, like, wait, I just can't imagine like me. I just can't imagine doing this to another person. Okay, like roles reversed. You know, maybe not on the same subject, right? But like, let's say like I'm living in a neighborhood and some kid in the neighborhood comes rolling by on his bike and says, "Hey, mister, you know, there's a house burning down the street," or you know, I just saw there's a dead body floating in the stream or in the river or something, and I just tell them, "Look, there's something wrong with you. You know, you need to get your head checked." You know what I mean? It's like, whoa, wait a second. But that's what it is, and that is why you're seeing it everywhere right now. That's why every single boss I've had in the last lifetime has used narcissistic abuse in some way, shape, or form. Because for me personally, for whatever the reason, it has been very important for my family and other people for me to be in like virtual constant contact with somebody who knows my family or something. I really don't know. You can hear a helicopter. But you know, and this kind of touches on the whole like QAnon thing that we were talking about with the systematic targeted abuse. What they end up doing and what's going on right now in America is they're getting people to target themselves. They're getting people to target themselves. And the way they're doing that is they're doing that by goading people, by baiting people. You know, one of the restaurants I worked at, which was in Flagler County, they kept asking me about PED stuff. And it was like managers doing it too. And like in the office, like I was like, what in the world? And they were vetting me. That's what they were doing. They were vetting me. They were seeing how I felt on specific topics. You know what I mean? And they're always wanting to know how I feel about the PED stuff. And that is tied in with the narcissistic abuse because they're always spying on their victims. Because they always want to know what their victims know. Because the thing is with narcissists is that there's one thing that they're really scared of. They're scared to death of getting caught doing whatever it is they're doing, because they're usually doing some horrific stuff. So they're scared to death of getting caught, and they're scared to death of being exposed for what they are, which is usually, you know, an abusive person. And it usually goes much deeper than that. And I mean that literally, you know, because I don't know who some of these people are, you guys. And I'm really starting to wonder about the whole, I mean, look, this is the simple fact of the matter. I don't know what's going on down there. I have no idea what it's like. I don't want to go down there. The only thing, like I said on my last episode, that I'm a little bit chapped about is I know you guys are having some fat raves down there. I know it. I can feel it in my bones. But you know what? I've been to some really fat raves. So, I mean, I imagine going to one in like zero gravity would be pretty cool or whatever. Or like, I was just seeing a documentary about gravity machines, maybe to be on one where there's people dancing on the walls and dancing on the ceiling as well. That would be pretty dope. So let's see here. Talking about narcissistic abuse, targeting yourself. Let's move on. Now we're going to talk about the underground, right? Which all the records and stuff, that was all about. It was always all about the underground, the underground. And think about we're always hearing about underground movements. Oh, this is an underground movement. It's an underground movement. Maybe that's a little bit more literal than we would think. Um, I was thinking about getting a shirt made that says I hug mole people," or like bumper stickers that say like "I break for mole people" or something like that. I have a feeling none of them like look like moles or whatever, but it's just funny. I think it's just funny to call them mole people, and it comes from, it's like poking fun at the next town over or whatever. All right, so I was thinking about Columbus's journal and how Columbus's journal talks about orbs coming up out of the ocean. You know, so right there, Columbus sailing across the ocean is telling us like, yeah, that he saw UFOs, unidentified flying objects, coming up out of the ocean. Seems pretty straightforward to me, you guys. Um, what all this stuff means for me, like knowing about the underground, it's totally changed my world. And for somebody who already has anxiety issues and like abandonment issues and has been traumatized to here in high heaven. I mean, I have been traumatized literally up and down the street. You know what I mean? I get they try to traumatize me every day. Definitely try to traumatize the crap out of me when I work. I mean, that's one of the reasons I quit waiting tables, was because they were only sitting me with SS people. How do I know? Because they do the signaling when they get to the door. Oh, I disapprove of you telling about the signaling. This is the sign of disapproval. I disapprove. Then we got the what is that, the the sprinkler or whatever. What do you call that one? That dance move. And then there's the hand on the chest. The hand on the chest. And we also have the eyeglasses. That's one I've been seeing a lot recently. The tapping of the eyeglasses, the moving of the eyeglasses. Just those four. And I believe what it is it's two different things. I think it's a lot of times it's them letting each other know that they see each other. But also it could be them letting each other know that they see you. I really don't know. I don't know. Learning about this stuff, I'm going through the adjustment period, and you guys are witnessing the adjustment period, because this isn't the movie Star Wars. I got all this Star Wars stuff behind me. This isn't Star Wars. I'm not Luke Skywalker. I can't even own a blaster. You know what I mean? I'm not even allowed to own a blaster, and I certainly don't, that I'm aware of. I don't have any, powers in my finger to be able to do anything. My point is that I have to be able to live with this stuff. It doesn't mean that I have to be an active participant in it. It doesn't mean that I need to support it. But, I don't fully know what it means for me. Because quite frankly, what I would like to do is I would like to, save up like $50,000 and move to another country. But based on everything that I'm learning now, I might be jumping out of the frying pan into the fire. If I were to do that, I just don't know. I don't know enough, and everybody I turn to for help lies to me. I can't get any straight information. It's not like anybody said like, "Oh yeah, well, actually, Josh, it's holes in the ground, and every city's on top of a city, and I was thinking about this stuff today. Do you know what this means, you guys? This means that like they could have entire civilizations down there that know nothing about the surface of the earth. You could have an entire race of people that believe their existence is underground and know nothing about the surface of the earth. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy, man. You could have like little tiny tribes all over the place down there. Like, you could do this. It could be done on purpose, to keep people in the dark, pun intended. The spacecrafts, or things that we call spacecrafts, they have gravity machines in them that create a gravity field around them. Okay, so like, who's to say? Because if you can harness these gravity machines and use a gravity machine, then you would be able to do things like make a force field that nobody, you know what I'm saying? Like you could put one up against a rock and then like nothing could come so close to it. Um, you could do a lot of stuff if you were able to harness or control a machine that controls gravity. You could probably even slow down time. And I'm starting to wonder if that's why some days, and I'm not talking about the sun, okay, but it seems like some days and some hours or whatever, it seems like some time goes by super, super quick and some time goes by really slow. It seems like some years go by quicker than other years. Like for me, 2000, I think for everybody, 2020 seemed to last forever. Like with all this technology they have, you never know what's going on. We might have 8 days in a week. I was thinking about this the other day. There might be 8 days in a week, but one day, all the normies like me are completely knocked out because they emit some frequency or gas us or something. I mean, look, that is possible. It's totally possible. There may be 8 days in a week, and all of us normies just get, we have no idea because we get gassed on Sunday night. We wake up on whatever day it is thinking it's Monday. Do you see what I'm saying? And then we totally miss it. I mean, that's what was going on with me when I was homeschooled. And I believe what happened was when I was in public school as a child, they realized how smart I was because I was immediately in gifted programs and all these things. And then I got pulled out. And, you know, my parents said it was for like religious purposes, but now I know that's complete bullcrap. It looks like they knew how smart I was, and I was homeschooled to manage like my thinking, to get me thinking, compartmentalize my thinking. I mean, it's totally backfired, or maybe it hasn't. Maybe I'm some sleeper mole. Get it, mole? We have a mole. It's like everybody looks around like, oh, I hope he's not talking about me because I'm a mole person. Like, I hope he's not talking about me because I am a mole person. Maybe I am a DNA mole. Do you see what I'm saying? Like a DNA mole, like sent to like Disrupticon. You know what I mean? Like, welcome to Disrupticon. Maybe that's what I should call my show. All right, let's talk about Joe Rogan, who I don't really like that much. I just want to. I do like Joe Rogan. Let me immediately retract that statement. I do like Joe Rogan. Okay, I just at first I thought that he was just surrounded and buffered by people that are like controlling everything that he sees and therefore says. But now that I watch his show very carefully, and excuse me, very analytically, I can see that some of his guests, especially on the UFO topic, they stop and consider and think about the words that they're saying so much. And now that I know the stuff I know, like, I watched this Bob Lazar thing, and Joe Rogan pretty much just held his hand through the whole thing. You know what I mean? Through the whole interview. I think Bob Lazar is, all of this stuff is part of the quote unquote disclosure movement, but that's all to make us think that it's all outer space related. I mean, just because you see a spaceship that you've never seen before, it doesn't mean immediately it's not from Earth. It just means that immediately that you've never seen it before, and there's technology you haven't seen before. And that's where it gets scary when Joe Rogan and Bob Lazar both immediately just agree and come to the conclusion. Well, and use words like, "Well, clearly it's not from Earth," because how could it be? We know you know what I mean? Because look at everything that we know, and wrong. I mean, just wrong. But just watching this, I was thinking there's a chance that Bob Lazar is in the same boat as me, just in a different time period, basically, because he's older. And Joe Rogan is in the know. There's no way that Joe Rogan doesn't have a tube in his house. I know he's got a tube going down to the underground. I know he does. This is my point. Joe Rogan will never, ever have me on a show, even though, I love how he has like the internet pulled up, even though I can sit there like this and not being cocky, not being a jackass or anything. I can sit there and walk him through on the internet everything. All the stuff that's super fishy, that doesn't add up. people, looks like people forging signatures and spots on addresses I've lived at where the Google Drive car won't drive. Look, Joe Rogan will never have me on his show. AM, the Coast to Coast AM or whatever, maybe they would have. Maybe that's why they're gone now. It's because of me. Because look, I'll never, and I need to know that I need to remind, and this is me reminding myself that this is tied in with the narcissistic abuse, because there was a time in the beginning where I thought I was going to have a moment where I would get to address like maybe a crowd of people that I knew from a congregation, like the congregation at my church that I knew, or just like a group of concerned individuals that would want to know what I was talking about. No, not at all. Everybody I go to talk to about this stuff already knows all about it. They don't need to know anything. It's really alarming. Nobody has any questions. Any questions, anybody, about any of this stuff? And the comments that I've been getting, like, oh, you're really genuine, really genuine. I appreciate that. Like, what do you think about what I'm saying? Like, obviously, like, I'm genuine. I'm probably one of the most genuine people online, considering everybody I find is regulated by somebody. Everybody's regulated by somebody. Jordan Sather, Dustin Nemos. I can't figure Joe Rogan out. Yeah, I do. I can figure him out. I can figure him out by saying this. He will never have me on his show, because I don't know how I'll do it. I don't know what I'll say, but I'll figure out a way to. He's a real wily fox, that Joe Rogan, but but I'll figure out a way to. I'll back him into a corner, metaphorically speaking. I'll ask him questions if I get down to it that he probably won't be able to answer. About, it's tied in with this stuff. It's like, that's why I don't believe that anybody even knows that I exist, which is why the only type of promoting I'm going to be able to do for my show is going to be face-to-face over the internet, like direct messaging somebody, or face-to-face in person telling somebody. And this is where it gets even more alarming. The people who I keep telling about this stuff in person, face-to-face, they seem to already know about it as well. I can't find any real homeless people. I'm serious, you guys. I can't find any real homeless people that are actually really homeless. Let me correct myself. I found one or two. But man, they're not looking and doing good. You know what I mean? I mean, they're in like horrible shape, like really, really rough shape. Which leads to my next question. Where did they all go? You guys, where did all the homeless people go? What happened to them all? What happened to like all like the hippies and stuff like that? Because I'm thinking back about the 90s, okay? There was the hippie movement, and I know you're thinking, oh, well, that was... No, I'm thinking about the 90s. In my hometown, there was like tons of people on the streets there. It was almost like a carnival in downtown Gainesville. Was that all done to attract people there just so they could experiment on them, send them to the slaughterhouse? Because I thought all this stuff kind of organically dissipated. People got older. But the more and more I'm thinking about it, the more and more I look, it looks like what my suspicions are true. It looks like they're thinning out the herd right in front of our eyes, and we don't even realize it, or we're starting to realize it. That's absolutely what COVID was. And COVID affecting, I mean, I'm not a doctor. This is all just, of course, my speculation, right? But COVID affecting minorities and black people and Hispanic people. I'm not being racist. I'm sorry to say it like this, but I think that that's just because people who in the SS typically are very racist, and those are going to be the first people to go, because it's going to be easier to get people in the black community to sell out their own kind. And that's not a slant on black people. That's a slant on poverty, being poor. If you make people poor, eventually they're going to do pretty much whatever they can for money. You know what I mean? Including like selling out, if they don't think they're selling out their family, if they just think it's like, oh, it probably starts with just neighbors they don't like or whatever. I don't know. I don't know how it works. But it's like they're always saying these people move and move and move. Well, where is everybody? Do you see what I'm saying? Because I was just in Los Angeles not that long ago, and there's like nobody there. There's like nobody there. In fact, I was even starting to wonder if all the hubbub around me was to make me think that there was stuff going on there. But the problem with that is that it just dies off and stops as quickly as it starts, and it's obvious that it's fake. But they wanted me out of California. I know that. They did not want me in California. I got asked about 10 times, and it got so creepy. People kept asking me, how long are you going to be in California? And it sounded so friendly and genuinely curious, but the question was still the question, and it was still said to me that many times. I was like, oh man, these people, they really want me gone, out of California. So that's what I'm scared of. You know what I'm saying? When I was talking about the hippies and stuff like that, like I'm not talking about the 60s. I'm talking about no. This was when I was a kid. This was in the 90s. Like the first time I bought mushrooms was off of a hippie downtown Gainesville, and then I heard that a lot of them were like out in the Ocala National Forest, the Rainbow Tribe, and all this stuff. Where are they, man? Like, what happened to all these people? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, the whole fish, everybody following around fish, they just vanish. Do you see what I'm saying? There's too many people missing, I think, in my opinion. There are some specific names of people who I can't seem to find on the internet. It's like they're just gone. Like they weren't ever there in the first place. And their family members won't talk to me. I'm serious, man. And do you know what started this whole like me thinking that there's people missing and stuff was like me asking questions about these children who came over from Africa. We had these kids come and stay at our house from Africa for like 2 or 3 days, and now my parents won't even talk about them. They won't even talk about them. And that was when they started saying, oh, Josh is crazy. Yeah, there's something wrong with Josh. Josh is a paranoid schizophrenic because he has reasonable questions about children who seem to be missing. I mean, that's it. Oh, he has reasonable questions about some children that seem to be unaccounted for. Yeah, he's crazy. Definitely crazy, that one. What a nut job. And I'm going to end with this, no, I'm going to end with what I'm grateful for. But like, I wonder what is it they tell other people to make them act totally mean to me? What is it that they tell other people to get them to dislike me or to be mean towards me? It must be really confusing for some people when they actually meet me as a person. And I've wondered over the years, like if I've kept saying to myself, like, it feels like this friend of mine is trying to portray me in a bad light to like myself. It didn't even make any sense. Like they would like fill in the blanks for things like, oh, well, yeah, but you love doing that, right, Josh? And I'd be like, no, not really. And now it all makes sense. Now it all makes sense. All the live streaming of my life, and it's probably all live streaming back to like somebody in my family too. That's the messed up part about it. Or somebody in the government. I don't know. I don't care. But it's because they would not stop and will not stop messing with me that I've been able to discover and figure out what I've been able to figure out. Period. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the stuff I'm grateful for. Something I'm grateful for is finding these shoes. Let me show you these shoes. These are called On Cloud shoes. This is one pair. These are the best ones. They have Helion is what they're made out of, and they're called Cloud Techs. I think these are the Cloud Flows. These are the best ones, the Cloud Flows, and they have this little band right here that you can put your shoelaces in, so they're held tight. But don't these look nice and tight? I want to get another pair of these. They're super, super light shoes. These are like the lightest shoes I ever had. And then this is the other one I got. I don't know what one this is, but the Cloud Flow with the Helion, these are the ones that you want. These are the On Cloud shoes that you want. These things, they're so nice, you guys. These shoes are awesome. And then you have like, these are like the starter On Clouds. These are the ones that you usually see people walking around in. These are good for like, if you're running, you know what I'm saying? It's funny to see people like buy these, like, I don't know. Something fell out of this. These are like these are the starter On Clouds. Like when I was dating this girl, I got her a pair of like pink ones of these. They're nice. You know what I mean? You can get these for like $100, $120. But if you really want to treat your feet, get the On Clouds with the Helion, the Cloud Tech. These things are baller, and they got like 8 or 9 different designs. Look, when you're running from the deep state, you know, you want good shoes on your feet. You know what I'm saying? So back to like the whole Joe Rogan thing, and then this is what I'm grateful for. Okay, I think that they know that something is coming, right? And I don't know if it's going to come in the way of poisonings or in the way of gaslighting or in the way of both or whatever. You know, I think it's already started, right? It started with COVID. But I'm grateful that the good Lord has shown me what he's shown me, because over the years, all these random jobs I've had with all these quote unquote, random people, right? Now I see it wasn't random at all. Everything down to like the girlfriend I dated in high school. I don't want to go into the whole story, but there was this whole psyop done when I got to my high school, GHS, and it was basically to make me really want to be in drama class. Like they switched my classes with me through some fancy wording when I was signing up and gaslighting. It's one of those things, like at the time, you just think, oh, this is just a confusion, a mix-up, blah, blah, blah. Like I said on yesterday's episode, I have gone back and rethought my entire life. And I really actually have. And that's why, the girl who I started dating in the ninth grade, I dated her all through high school. She was an actress. She was in my drama class, my high school drama class. How interesting that I've had such a problem with all these bad actors. All these bad actors. So like right before I went to high school, my parents dressed me up as the centerpiece of a table. And I was like a table for Halloween with my head as the centerpiece. And I'm like walking around Gainesville neighborhoods, and people kept taking pictures of me and they thought it was hilarious. Because it was my parents serving me up. Do you see all the symbolism? This is how my family was. They dressed me up and they made it, it's more of the gaslighting. It was my idea to do that. The reason it was my idea was because they told me somebody won a Halloween costume contest by dressing up like a table when they were in college. And they told me that story several times. And, this one year I was like, I want to do it. I want to dress up like a table. Do you see? Do you see how they got me? And all these families kept taking pictures of me and my friend. Oh, man, I think my friend was even in on it, man. His last name was Bose. You see, I don't want to say these people's first names. I just want to talk about their last names. But, so they dressed me up like that. My head was the centerpiece, like them feeding me to everybody. And then they send me off to high school. I don't know anything about anything, in terms of socially, right? I was very smart, studious, book smart, but I didn't really know much anything else. And my dad hadn't told me anything. My dad told me nothing about women. What did he tell me about women? Nothing. Literally not one thing. To this day, he's not told me one thing about women because I don't think he knows anything about them. I really don't think that the person I call father knows anything about women. If he does, he never told me a word about it. I was raised by this stuff. By this stuff right here. This is what raised me. First the movies, and then the music. Quote unquote art, right? And that's something that I found when I was decoding old hymns from John Wesley, who studied from the Bavarians. These is all connected to the builders, to the framers, right? So when I was decoding, I'm not making this up, when I was decoding hymns by John Wesley, and one of the things that I stumbled upon was them saying that they were going to do it all with art. That's how they were going to just infiltrate and destroy, was by doing it with art. Because you think you're singing the song How Great Thou Art, but you're not. Because there's somebody else singing something else next to you. And it's all in the words. It's all in the numbers of the buildings. Do you see what I'm saying? Like the addresses for these places, the streets that they're on. It's all, and once you start to understand that, you can start to understand other stuff. And it should be very easy for you to figure out where the underground portals are. Because all these portals they talk about are real. There are portals. And they are to other dimensions. The other dimension is down underneath the ground. That's what's going on. They want us looking up at the stars that don't ever change and have been the exact same for thousands and thousands of years. Yo, man, they haven't changed at all, but we're supposed to be spinning and moving and all this stuff. And the moon's orbiting around us, but it doesn't rotate ever. Come on, man, the stuff just doesn't add up. It just isn't adding up. It would make sense that all that stuff out there is a lot closer to us than what they're telling us, and we're looking through some kind of concave bubble, like the reverse of a magnifying glass. Do you see what I'm saying? If we're looking through the reverse of a magnifying glass at all this stuff out there, it is going to look very, very far away, you know? But who knows? It's possible it's all connected on a big root system or something like that. You just never know. I don't know, and I don't ever pretend to sit here and have answers. And somebody like sort of kind of asked a question. So I don't remember what it was. Tunnel Rat made a good comment in response. Look, if there's something that I know to be true, I state it as such. And if there's something that I might be a little bit rocky on or unsure of, then I say that. I never put the cart before the horse with this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Never. I'm 100% sure about this portal thing, about the underground thing. I'm 100% sure about it. 100% sure. If there was actually a police officer or somebody in a 3-letter agency that was interested in doing something other than protecting them and covering them up, I'm sure I would be in touch with them. But it's starting to look like the point of all these agencies is just to make sure that this crap show goes on. I don't know. So I'm going to peace out, you guys. Please remember to vote. Bye.